In this episode, we are going to dive into 5D consciousness, what it means, and 6 signs to know that you are ascending to 5D.
Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to tap into your power to manifest the happiness, success, and fulfillment that you desire. I am your host, Niajae, the Upper Limit Coach. I am here to dismantle your limiting beliefs and remove the blocks so you can confidently live your life's purpose, because life is meant to be abundant.
Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning into the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? There's 2 things I want to mention before we dive into today's topic. Number 1, if you are joining us for the first time, M&Ms, although they're amazing candies, actually stands for magical manifestors because we are manifesting by default, whether we know it or not. So the purpose of this podcast is to manifest abundance. And number 2 is that I designed this podcast to be evergreen, meaning that you can listen to it anytime, no matter what's going on in your life, and apply the tips, tricks, and lessons to your life regardless. So you can start from the beginning and just binge all of the episodes. So typically I don't discuss what's going on in the world right now, which is why I've taken 2 weeks off to just let the dust settle from the COVID virus. So I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to discuss that on this specific podcast, but I did want to give 2 weeks to honor everything that's going on in the world right now. But it is time to get back to some abundance. So let's dive into today's topic. We are talking about 5D consciousness. I actually posted this on Facebook and it created quite the stir, but I just want to dive into what it is and how do you know if you have reached a level of 5D. So what it means to me is that it's a state of consciousness where you are more aware and present. There's a lot of ways to break this down. There's a lot of different explanations of what it is, but the reality is it's just a state of consciousness. So some people can consider 5D your flow state or opening your third eye, and we kind of jumped from 3D to 5D. So some people are like, what happened to 4D? But 4D is basically that in between. I like to call it like a limbo phase where you're not quite there, but you're not where you were. So it's like that cocoon phase. Ooh, I really like that. I just came up with that. It's that cocoon phase where you're not a caterpillar, but you're not quite a butterfly yet. So it's that in-between phase, in my opinion, what 4D is. But 5D is where you are in this state of consciousness where you're aware and you're present and you're letting go of your ego. That is powerful. That is so powerful. So I've done a lot of inner work, and the way that I break down the ego is the thing that protects our inner child. So when something triggers you, it triggers you because there's still something there to be healed. Now, one of the things that I've learned is healing is not linear. So you may have dealt with something in your childhood and you did a lot of inner work and you think that you've healed from it, and then something in life triggers you, and that inner child is offended or hurt or feels betrayed or neglected or abandoned. And so sometimes that doesn't go away for a long time, and that's okay. So what your ego does is it hops in to protect you. And so that's where, defense mechanisms come in, and facades and masks that we wear to protect our inner child. So that's how I understand ego. We all have it. I don't think it's a bad thing, but 5D consciousness is where you're letting go of your ego. So you have learned to love and nurture your inner child and heal from the pain and the wounds. So you no longer are triggered by things that used to trigger you, because you have that self-love, you have that inner peace and that connectedness with your inner child. So you don't feel the need to constantly protect your inner child, because you're nurturing your inner child and your inner child knows that you love them. Does that make sense? So the ego is basically resistance to the present moment. you're worried about the past or you're worried about the future, and it's blocking you from being present in the moment. So our ego creeps up and it says, well, you remember when this person did this years ago, or oh no, don't tolerate that because that could happen in the future. So what it's doing, it's creating resistance and it's blocking the abundance from flowing into your life. So 5D consciousness is where you are also connected with the oneness of everything. Have you heard people say we're all in this together? Actually, I've been saying that a lot lately with everything that's going on in the world. But have you heard people say like we are all one, we're all in this together, we are all connected, and not just human beings, but we're connected to Mother Earth and the animals and plants. So it's this state of consciousness that understands that we are all one and everything is connected because it is. So really just understanding that concept, and not to bring up what's going on in the world right now, but I think we're healing as a collective. And because of what's going on, nature is healing. And that just shows that we as a collective are raising our level of consciousness, which is amazing, which makes me feel like the timing of this episode is perfect because we all as a collective are ascending to another level of consciousness. So another way to explain 5D consciousness is you are not attached to your thoughts and your emotions. You're kind of like a neutral observer. So there's people that believe that we cannot control our emotions or our thoughts. And that's a rabbit hole that I'm not going to go down in this specific episode, but it's more like you don't allow your thoughts to control you and you can just observe. You can just sit back and say, okay, this came up. That's interesting. Is this mine? Is this serving me? What does this mean? What is this teaching me? And you can allow yourself to just be present in that. So you're no longer running from your emotions or thoughts. You can be fully present and just sit in it. Sit in whether it's pain, sit in pleasure. You know how many people run from pleasure? So many people do. People definitely run from pain, but people also run from pleasure because they start to feel guilty and they cut themselves off from the pleasure that the universe wants to give them. So allowing yourself to be fully present in a moment and sit with whatever is going on and be okay with it. And there's so many things that prevent us and block us from being able to do that. Are you ready to raise your vibrations and tap into abundance? Download our free Abundance Guided Meditation to accelerate your manifestation. This will help you visualize your abundant life and align with that vision so it can become your reality. To download the MP3, go to abundancehack.com/abundance guided meditation. And remember, life is meant to be abundant. Here are 6 signs to know that you are ascending into 5D consciousness and releasing the resistance and raising your state of awareness. Number 1 is you are activating your clair abilities. I just did a podcast episode on the 8 clair abilities. So if you haven't listened to that, definitely go check it out. So if you are hearing ringing in your ears, that is clairaudience, or you are seeing auras or orbs or energy, you know that you are expanding your level of consciousness. If you're seeing repeating numbers, this is really common, and it's a way for our spirit guides or a higher being to communicate with us. So if you have these things that are starting to happen, you are raising your level of consciousness. Number 2 is you are receiving downloads. So this was something I didn't really understand a lot before I started doing my inner work and I went on my own spiritual journey. But the way that I understand downloads is it's information that is being given to us to live our purpose, to share our gifts with the world, messages that we are meant to share with our audience, a person, with the collective. So if you are experiencing insomnia, or having really vivid dreams, this could be a download, and it's information that is being, how could I break this down? That's being like implanted in you that you were meant to share. So I know it's very woo woo, but that is my understanding of it. So if you have a better breakdown or understanding of download, share it with us. But I had to learn what these things meant on my own, and that's the best way that I can translate it. So if you ever like spoke to someone or got on a podcast and all of this information and knowledge and wisdom just started flowing out of you, that could be a download. Most likely it is a download. So we are given this wisdom and this knowledge and these ideas to live our purpose and step into our power. So if you find yourself having insomnia, very vivid dreams, tossing and turning at night, you could be experiencing a download. And usually this happens when there's a huge energetic shift going on. So could be a full moon or lunar eclipse. Like usually there's a huge energetic shift, and a lot of people are saying they can't sleep at night. So number 3 is ascension flu. You guys, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on this because it's something I've experienced and there's not a lot of information on it. So when I experienced it for the first time, I thought I was crazy. So usually when something happens to me and I know there's not a lot of information on it, I know that it's meant for me to do a podcast episode on it, because if I experience it, someone else has experienced it as well, and I don't want you to feel like you are alone. So I will do a whole entire podcast episode on ascension flu, but really quick, the way I understand it is you are raising your level of consciousness and your physical body has to catch up. So you are tapping into another state mentally and energetically, but your physical body isn't ready for the downloads and the energy that it's receiving, so you have these flu-like symptoms. So that's all I'll say this episode about it, but look forward to me doing a full episode on it because it's intense. Number 4 is people don't resonate anymore. You get bored with the mundane. Every level of consciousness, every time you raise your level of consciousness, you are going to find that certain things and certain people and certain activities no longer resonate with you. And this is a part of growth. This is generally a part of growth, whether you believe in energy and levels of consciousness or not. Because there's a saying like butterflies don't hang out with caterpillars. So if people are not growing with you, that can cause a disconnect. And there's a lot of people that will stunt their growth to stay where other people are. And I used to say a long time ago that elevation requires separation, because as you elevate, as you transcend, as you ascend, you are going to feel disconnected from the people that were at that previous level. And so I realized that that's kind of a maybe a negative way to look at it. So as you ascend, the things that no longer resonate, that are not a vibrational match, are just going to fall away. So you don't have to focus on separation, because law of attraction, if you focus on separation, then that's what you're going to receive more of. But what you're doing is you're raising your level of consciousness and you're raising your vibration. And so whatever is not a vibrational match will just fall away naturally. You don't have to focus on separation. And what it's going to do is create space for more things that are a vibrational match to you. So yeah, that is a huge one. That's a huge one. Number 5 is a change in diet. This is something that I experienced. I did a few sound therapy sessions that were really, really intense. My first time experiencing ascension flu, it's like when I got over it, my diet drastically changed. And I'm not a person that follows diets like, there's so many different diets out there. I don't follow any of them. I just eat what I feel called to, what my intuition tells me to eat. And after I experienced ascension flu, I completely cut out processed foods from my diet. I don't eat processed foods at home. And it was really interesting because I used to love cereal, like love cereal. And I just woke up one day and never ate cereal again. Well, now that we're in quarantine, not to mention what's going on in the world right now, because, I want this podcast to be evergreen, but I feel like I've kind of retracted and like I've been eating cereal because it's a good quarantine food. So, it doesn't go bad very soon. Anyway, long story short, I woke up one day, I stopped eating processed foods. I wanted to eat more vegetables, more fruits, and it was really amazing because nothing happened in a sense of like, oh, I heard this where you shouldn't eat this, or I decided to do this diet. I literally woke up one day and was like, no more processed foods. Like, they didn't even appeal to me. And also, I cut out coffee, started drinking a lot more tea, just random things that just happened because my intuition was guiding me on what will make my body feel the best. So number 6 is you're more aligned with your purpose. There's a lot of people that are just living life. They're floating in a breeze, in the wind, and they don't have a specific purpose. But when you raise your level of consciousness, purpose is going to be extremely important to you. And you're going to want to figure out, or you may even know what your purpose is. You'll be more aligned and connected with it. You'll figure out what it is, and you will be all about that. And so this is something that is huge because I know a lot of people are searching for their purpose, but to me that means you're raising your level of consciousness, that it's even on your radar. So if you're someone who's like, what is my purpose, that means you're waking up. You may be in that 4D, that transitional phase of like that cocoon where you don't know you're going to be a butterfly just yet, but you know that something has changed. So, yeah, just a really quick recap. Number 1, activating your clear abilities. Number 2, receiving downloads. Number 3, ascension flu. Number 4 is things don't resonate with you anymore. Number 5 is change in diet. And number 6 is you're more aligned with your purpose. So, these are some key indicators that you are raising your level of consciousness and tapping into 5D. So, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, definitely share with me. This is a topic that I think a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on. And it's a buzzword, 5D consciousness definitely is a buzzword right now. Ascension and quantum leaping is definitely buzzwords. So I would love to hear your feedback. And there's ways that you can tap into 5D consciousness. The way that I recommend is through meditation or energy healing. So meditating, the thing for me that helped me raise my level of consciousness was sound therapy. So definitely meditation, but sound therapy is what took me into my deepest meditation where I was like in another place. I was somewhere else. And that is what encouraged me to train, and learn sound therapy and be able to offer that healing modality to others. But there's Reiki, and there's so many different healing modalities that can help you tap into a higher level of consciousness. So definitely, keep meditating. I talk about meditating every single episode. So keep meditating and find the modality that works for you. Tapping, I think, is another way because we have different energy points, and anything pertaining to aligning your chakras and crystal therapy. There's so many different healing modalities out there that is helping us align, connect with our inner being, and raise our level of consciousness. So that is today's episode. I would love to hear your feedback. I would love if you post any questions, whatever platform you are tuning in from, post your questions, comments, and let's get some dialogue started because I know that stuff like ascension flu is different for everyone. Healing isn't linear, so everyone's journey is going to look a little different. So I love for people to share their stories. And yeah, let's get some conversation going. So I hope you found value in this, and until next time, love and light.
Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.